Robinson and the Grenadines. WEFM is SVG.
Minutes on to 11 o'clock here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You're locked on to WEFM 99.9, the clean, fresh sound. And this is your It's Your Turn program. Remember, It's Your Turn is an interactive program. So the numbers to call are 457-9997 if you're calling from a local landline, 532-9997 if you're calling from a digital cell phone. And you can also send us a message or call us on WhatsApp at 457-9997. The It's Your Turn program is being hosted by Mr. Cecil, Mr. Philbert, Mr. Joel Providence, and Mr. Fitz Huggins. Good morning to you, Cecil.
Good morning to you, Karen, and good morning to my colleagues in studio. Philbert, greetings. Joel, of course, he's not in the seat yet, but he will be there soon. And our faithful brother and comrade Fitz Huggins. Fitz, good to see you this morning. And we have our special morning. Dr. Richard Cox is on with us this morning. So, gentlemen, it's good to be in another It's Your Turn program, and we have been carried as well on Star FM and Garfina Radio. A wide audience, the most listened to program on Sunday, talk show program. It is in fact the premier program. And today is December 7th, 2025. It's good to be in. Lovely day. Pijan?
Yes, good morning to Joel, Fitz, Richard. It's good to be back on another edition of It's Your Hand. Program gets more and more interesting every week. So we look forward to engaging you and hope that you follow us for the rest of the morning into the afternoon.
Joel.
Yes, good morning, Cecil, Pijan, Fitz, our special guest, Dr. Richard Byron Cox, listeners to WEFM. Good morning to all. I believe that today, December the 7th, is the 20th anniversary of the general elections of 2005. Am I right? It wasn't December the 7th?
It was.
Yes,
I think so.
Yes. So anyhow, it's elections have been completed now about 8 or 9 days, 10 days. And we have Christmas as well before us. So I look forward to participating in discussions on all matters of importance to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whether or live in the diaspora.
And our good comrade Fitz, greetings.
Yes, good morning, Cecil, Joel, Richard, and Pijan, and especially to our listeners. I abandoned you last week.
Yes, man.
But I'm here again this week, and hopefully we'll have a great discussion as usual. Looking forward to the looking forward to the calls, and particularly want to welcome Richard this morning to the program. And I know he will be discussing some exciting things with us. So good morning, especially to our fans out there of this great program. I really hope that you stay tuned, invite a friend to come on, listen to us, and share the link so that we will have an excellent program today.
And Dr. Cox is over to you. Good to see you in studio.
Yes.
It's your time, WEFM again, of course.
Yes, good morning to all of you, Mr. Providence, Pigeon, Cecil, and Fitz, of course. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here. I think you know, without any flattery, that this is the most listened to interactive program on radio in this country. So I think it's a great honor for me to be here. Special good morning to everybody, your audience across the globe, because I listen to you in Europe, as you know. I probably might not calling, but I listen. And so I know you have a worldwide audience, and special good morning to your entire worldwide audience. It's always a pleasure for me to, in one way or the other, contribute to the development of the country. And I've said before, and Mr. Providence, I know, would remember this, if nobody else. This is one of the programs that allow for a little bit of what I call active citizenship. You remember that, Mr. Providence, right? I always say that, active citizenship. In other words, people get involved in the process of development of this country. So I'm honored to be here, and I want to thank you very, very much for having me. I look forward to the serious discussion, dispassionate as far as that is possible, and dealing with the objective reality, the facts, that. So yes, happy to be here.
All right. So we are glad that you accepted our invitation to be on. Already we are seeing, I want to give a shout out to Kojo. Kojo, greetings. Thanks for checking in with us this morning. We hope you're doing well. And our brother in Puerto Rico, Buenos Dias. I don't know if I said it right. Joel, Spanish man in here. So he sends greetings already. But from me, I want to hail up a few people, of course, starting with Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, a man who's a regular listener to our program. Regardless, he's always tuned in, regardless of where he is. So, Comrade Gonzalez, I hope you're doing well. And upful as usual, upful is the word. And I want to give you and your family a bright shout out this morning. And wish you all the best for the rest of the day and going forward. Of course, solidarity and love as always. I also want to shout out Miss Harold. We didn't hear her for a couple of weeks now. So, Miss Harold, greetings to you. And we hope you're steady and you're upful. Also, Brother Sam, good morning. And welcome to the program, Brother Bristol. I hope you're doing well. You haven't heard from me for months and months. Out in Overland. Greetings and welcome to the program. And also Brother Mason, greetings to you. Welcome to our program, Brother Lansford Weeks. And I'm sure he's listening and might be calling us this morning as well. Greetings to you and all the other folks across the country. We're happy to be with you another Sunday morning. We're not going to call, at least I'm not going to call all the names across the country, but you know that you're in our hearts. And we expect to be in solidarity and you in solidarity with us this morning. All right. I want to give a shout out before I forget to our good junior friend in Ben Brown. Ben, good morning to you and your mom. I hope you guys are okay this morning. Also, all the other good friends that we've established over the years and the months and the days and so on and so forth, the hours. I want to say this before we begin our program this morning. I'm sure we're going to be touching on all our experiences, political, economic, and so on and so forth. I just want to say that I would have less or no tolerance, in fact, for persons who would call and try to abuse our present or past leaders in government or in politics. That will not be tolerated on this program as far as I am concerned as a moderator. If you want to refer to any of our present leaders in parliament or present ministers, you do so with respect and with due regards. Similarly, if you're going to refer to our past, immediate past parliamentarians and ministers, you do so with due respect, and anything less than that will not be tolerated. So with that, we're clear, and we respect each other, we're good to go. All right, gentlemen.
Cecil, before we get into
Yeah.
anything, could I just put in a plug for
Yes.
an event in New York today?
Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, yes.
It's Vincentian American Independent National Charities Inc. They have is the acronym is VINCI. They have their annual gala today. It's Sunday, December 7, 2025, between 11:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. at the El Caribe Country Club, 5945 Strickland Avenue, Brooklyn. And they're going to be honoring Fitzgerald Huggins, former Consul General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I wonder if it's this one in the body program this morning. But go ahead.
Also Mrs. Pamela Ferrari, President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Ex-Police Association. I just want to ask the persons in New York to go out and support this gala event. And not because I'll be honored, but I want to wish the group all the successes today as they, for the event. And so please share the word, share the news, go out and support this event today. It's a gala event. It's an annual gala event, and it's worth the cause.
I just want to.
Sorry,
John. I just want to add that it's worth the cause, of course, and it's for a man who has put in human service while he was Consul General in Toronto, Canada. And whether or not we like it, we have to acknowledge it and accept it. It's the way it has been. And we recognize the wonderful work, the good work, the hard work that Fitz, that you've done on behalf of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And for me, I tip my hat to you. And the gala. But how come you here? You should be up there, man. What happened?
From the man.
But that would have been a very good and appropriate.
I left because I don't like winter.
Oh, I can identify with that. I can tell you.
And I'm just setting up back house again after the campaign and etc.
I'm aware.
A lot of my stuff, you're aware. You came and I had to give my priority to myself.
Of course.
Sometime, So I'm sorry I'm not there, but I know the event will go on without my presence.
And what's the name of the person who is heading
Fun? Yeah, Dopwell.
I hope Fun. I wish she could have called.
If she could call, she would. The number is 457-9997, right?
Yeah.
784-457-9997.
Yes. And that's straight on WhatsApp.
Yes, you can call straight on WhatsApp and we put a plug in for you as well. Fun.
Yeah, Joel, sorry, I interrupted you. You were coming in just now.
I was only going to ask Fitz what time the event begins.
It starts at 11:30, finishes at 5 p.m.
So it's like a lunch.
It's like a brunch kind of thing,
Yeah, gentlemen, anybody else?
Yes, I learned this morning of the passing of Bradley Brooker, prominent teacher, math teacher at St. Martin Secondary School.
Okay.
I just want to use the opportunity to extend condolences to his family, and may his soul rest in peace.
And for whatever it's worth, he was also a decent batsman as well. He loved his cricket.
He played for St. Vincent, right?
I think he did. Yes.
But that's a good man gone to the great beyond.
Yeah.
It's a very good man.
If I may just to say three very short things. Firstly, I join you, Cecil, in sending greetings to former Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. I want to thank him for all that he did for this country, his service, even before he became Prime Minister. And I want to say to him that we do know that even with this, his commitment would always be remembered, for ages to come. So I wanted to say that. Secondly, I want to say that I agree with you, Cecil, that whether we agree or disagree, we must do so with respect to each other. And this kind of disrespect, and I have even been threatened and said all sorts of things, I think this is not the place for this. We have gone beyond that. As Chucky said in a calypso years ago, in this day and age, no, not Chucky, Sparrow, actually. In this day and age, remember, we passed that stage. And finally, to Fitz, my friend, I agree with you. The evidence, the facts would show that as Consul General, Fitz did a magnificent job. Whether you like him or you don't, that is not the issue here. The issue is what is objective reality. What are the facts? And it is a fool who replaces a fact with an opinion. The other way around works, right? You might have an opinion, and when the fact comes, then you change your opinion because the facts show that your opinion is wrong. But it is a fool who replaces a fact with an opinion. And Fitz did a magnificent job. There's no if and buts about that. So writing that the people in New York has recognized what he's done, and not only that, but honor him in doing so. And I join them in honoring Fitz and in thanking him.
Mm-hmm. Just before I know Jolly want to come in, but I just want to hail up Bongo Shaka sent us his greetings already and his blessings. So just want to let you guys know that. Also, Fitz, I see something from Nicholas Lucas saying, heading there soon. Thanks, Fitz. I'm not sure where he's there.
That's the event. He's going to the event.
Oh, he's going to the event. So he's around that area up there. Okay. All right.
I remember Joel, would you remember, the first project that we did? One of the first projects was the house. Remember Corey's was part of the house?
Yes.
Yes, I think that was probably the shining moment for me personally, that we were able to assist someone in getting a house in conjunction with the government and Corey's and Lions Club South and the people, the community in Toronto, in Canada generally.
And Horace William showed up as well. Don't really know who Horace is.
You know Horace, man.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's Colin Williams' brother.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in Florida.
Oh, yes.
He called in last week. He called in last week.
That's Cuddy, man.
I refer to him as my
Lopi House captain. Yes. All right. My apology, brothers. Okay. Yeah. So we're into
Cecil, just 30 seconds if you would mind. When we say that Fitz did a magnificent job, just to put this in concrete context, whether you took sport, you take sports, did there. Whether you take education, for example, Caliacua Government School, whether you take health and the ambulances, whether you take house, as he mentioned, and I could go on and on. Diplomacy. He did a magnificent job. Those are just the facts. So in other words, I just wanted to say it's not a general statement that is not backed up by anything, right? It is a statement that the facts would demonstrate that I'm right in everything. It's not in one field he did this, but in many fields. So I just wanted to say that as a fact.
Well, Cecil, let me just say that I'm not going to state if I just want to express an opinion. And my opinion is that I've always appreciated the service that Fitz has offered to St. Vincent Grenadines overseas and at home. Yeah. And then my association with Fitz goes beyond and before his stint in Canada. And I think while we worked together, he did a magnificent job. And I appreciate the fact that he is back home, even though that he might prefer to be elsewhere. But I'm glad that he's in St. Vincent and that he can continue to make his contribution in so decides.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, just a song to put us in the mood.
We seem to feel that life is over just because we throw a few pennies down the gutter. We seem to feel everything is lost, so we fighting to get back something at any cost. While we searching and we searching just to get back that little something, we forgetting we knows nothing about this world in which we live in. Someone greater put this world together, so we must remember, in times of plenty we must be grateful. In times of sorrow, we must be strong. In times of joy, we must be thankful. Because life really have its ups and its downs. In times of disaster, we must be ready to join together and move racism out the way. And if you listen to this watchword from your lover, Black Stallion, tomorrow would be a better day. Better day, better day, better day. We meet a world today with 4 seasons. Who is we to try and find out what's the reason? And what goes wrong so must come back wrong so. Why that is so, nobody don't know. And there are so much other mysteries that nobody still can answer. So we just gotta say thanks and keep looking to the future, because this world is not ours to control. It is just to behold. In times of plenty.
All right, somebody's singing. I thought I heard somebody sing. That's fine. That's fine. We'll hold it there for now, and I'm sure. Any quick comment on the song? Or are we gonna turn over to Joel? Joel has a book there, so I want to know what's in the book. Anybody commenting on the song?
Well, I think, but the writer and the singer of the song, which is Black Stallion, Leroy Calise. And in my mind, Leroy Calise was a philosopher who expressed his philosophy in song, in the same way Marley was a philosopher who expressed his philosophy
as in Bob
song.
Marley.
Yes. As in
Mm-hmm.
Brother Bob, and also the great Sully,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Benroy Sully Caesar. This is a philosopher who expresses his philosophy in song. I think that particular song is an uplifting song because regardless of what, I was on a program recently, and somebody asked me about 2 things, character and courage. And they say, what do you say to people who are down, who are troubled and who don't believe? And I say, well, if you're Vincentian and you live on this coast and you never looked out and saw the Beckwith Channel, then you don't understand what life is. Sometimes it's very smooth. Other times it's really, really rough and it's kicking up. We have traveled for years and years through these islands on that coast, on that channel. It's the same thing. You wake up this morning and it's sunshine. The next morning you wake up and it's raining. And the next thing you know, it's September and we have a storm, And so this particular song, is a song which I think is necessary when we, individuals, face difficulties. Must all, it would not always be so. That is what he's saying, And so you have got, there are things which you cannot control, but you can control how you relate to them. So he says, in times of plenty, we must be grateful. That is our action in relation to that reality, right? And in times of sorrow, we have another thing. And I think what he is actually talking about is 2 things, character and courage. You have to have that kind of character and you have to have that kind of courage to have the faith, that it will change.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say that I've played this song many times on this program in the past, and I remember the first time I played it, our good friend and brother, Willis, one of the owners of the program, I think he sent a message that it's a wonderful song, and it was quite a timely and appropriate when I played it the first time. That was about maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I just wanted to explain that. By the way, guys, Harris is saying thank you and that he will call later. Just repeat. Yeah. And another brother and comrade is suggesting that I play Hezekiah by Beckett for the comrade, but I don't think we can do all of that this morning. I mean, there are other songs lined up, and plus I didn't line up this one. I didn't have this one lined up, so it would be difficult to reach it now and then to play it. So I just want to explain that to the brother, Vincent, who sent it. Yeah, Joel.
Yeah, timing matters as well. Huh?
Yeah.
So you got to exercise good judgment when how we deal with different topics. As we go along. I just want to make one quick comment in terms of the song, not in terms of the lyrics, but I always said that we in St. Vincent and Grenadines that we needed to do something about our calypsos. We either go one way or the other, plenty tempo and rhythm, and very short on the lyrics, or we go focus on the lyrics and the song's very monotonous and repetitive. And I also spoke about Stalin and a couple others who had the nice blend and so on of the two. And that is what we tried to do 20 years ago when we established the Upstage experience. And that's why we brought in persons like Bomani and Chanel Mackenzie and so forth. And but we didn't quite achieve what we had set out to do. But by and large, that's the direction in which we try to go, where we can combine good, great music and melody with good, great lyrics and so forth. And that was the intention. I just wanted to say one thing, follow up again, you mentioned about character and courage. I just wanted to say something this morning very briefly, and then I just want to speak about two tidbits arising out of the recently held elections. One is more or less trivia, but interesting trivia, and the other relates to half of St. Vincent and Grenadines in terms of geographic space. And just think about it. Think of two constituencies that occupy half of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then I'll just come back to that. But I just felt that we are not in the situation with post-apartheid or anything like that, where South Africans, government before and under Mandela and so on, they pursued the Truth and Reconciliation program to bring South Africans together. Whether it worked is questionable, but I believe that in times like this, every election, regardless of whether or not a party is returned to office or there's a switch, that there should be a period of coming to terms with the difference and the between parties. I know sometimes we tend to focus on the dialectics and believe that through taking clearly diametrically opposite sides and so on, sometimes that is the best way in which we can drive for progress and change. But sometimes, especially in these small island states, that is not necessarily the way to go. I know that like people like Karl Marx and Hegel and so on spoke about dialectical materialism, and there's a value in it. But sometimes when we come in situations in these small islands, whenever we have elections, in that sometimes there should really be a period post the election when there should be some degree of reconciliation of sorts. And maybe the same Christian Council and those and sort of involved, maybe need to look at the issues and how we can bring people together. Even though that we hold our position, even though we still support the parties that we support, at the end of the day, we are still all nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Hold St. Vincent and the Grenadines up high as a priority. That is why I was a little bit disappointed, and I recognize in recent days more so than ever that there's still a great divide, and that persons, Fitz and Pigeon, were on one side, they're talking about persons who are wicked and dictatorial, and then there's liberal and things like that on one side, and we're beating this drum, and then on the other side, you're in persons talking about who's ungrateful and so forth, ungrateful, dishonest, and this you're talking about generally the voting public and so on. They're not talking about candidates or persons on campaign teams, general voting public on one way or the other, that we either ungrateful and dishonest, or on the other hand, that we have run roughshod over people, or we have done so many things and so forth in the past, and it is time for them to find pasture somewhere else. That kind of thing. When in truth and in fact, you're talking about persons generally, or maybe the entire population, that we still love this country, we're supposed to love this country, we're still supposed to work together to support St. Vincent and the Grenadines and so forth, and while we ourselves live here. And I just wanted to make that point about we got to find a way for reconciliation, even though that we will still hold on to our respective views to a degree. So I just wanted to make that point up front.
But when you finish making that point, I just want to, before you go on, when you finish making that particular
Well, I finished that point on the
Okay.
reconciliation,
All right.
and then I want to go after on.
Right, but let me comment on that one that you just read. I agree with you generally, and I have to express admiration for despite the minor things that comments and people make on Facebook and elsewhere. I want to express admiration for those who voted for the ULP and the leadership of the ULP in particular, and I'm saying them because basically they take their licks. I don't see them coming out and put up blockages and protests. At least I have not seen any. I don't know if anybody else has seen any. So basically, they, to my mind, they are satisfied with what the democracy that we expressed here. Saying so in relation to what has happened in the past election results. So I just want to express commendation and admiration for those who voted for the ULP and the leadership of the ULP, because we haven't seen that kind of protest and thief the election, see that kind of thing. We haven't seen that. I'm happy about that. The other point I want to throw something at you guys. Basically, I remember sometime not long ago before the election, I raised the question of silly season came up. Remember that, Pijan? Yeah. I said, to me, it's not a silly, it's a serious season when people take serious decisions about their future and who's going to represent them. To me, there's nothing silly about that. And in as much as we see these results, you see people are serious. People take their election seriously. And I want to myself stay away from any reference or any description of silly season. This season is never silly. People take serious decisions about their future, and I respect those decisions. So I just wanted to throw that one in. Sorry, Julian, you can.
Yeah, I think though that the concept of these silly seasons is really that the vast majority recognize that it's serious business, but it's just that some persons through some things in the works that really just take it way off center and so on, and that gives it that sense or degree of so-called silliness. And I think that is what the concept, my interpretation of silly season means.
I am aware of that, but I still say the season is a serious one and people take it seriously.
And I'm therefore saying the people who say about that are actually saying it is a serious season, and therefore they're trying to say that persons who actually go down a particular pathway ought not to. They're trying to pull it down.
No, but Joel, I understand that. But
okay,
my opinion,
good.
But my opinion is, it is not a serious. It's not a silly season. The whole season is a serious season. People may put different twists to the way they see it. They may act out in different ways, but it remains. It's a serious season. People make serious decisions about their future and their life. And I think some people trivialize it by saying, "Oh, it's a silly season." It's not a silly season.
I don't think. Okay, I finished.
Let's not argue about it.
You have the last word. You have the last word.
No, it's not because
I'm leaving the last word with you. So I'm moving on.
But Joel, It's not a question.
I'm leaving you with the last
Why you not
words.
allowing me to finish?
You will have the
Please.
last words. I'm
No,
leaving you with the last
leaving me. You
words.
don't determine that, please. Let me finish.
As an individual, and I am equal, just like you have the. I will not speak.
Yeah. But let me finish.
Well, I'm letting you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, please. And plus
What?
And this we were talking about peaceful coexistence a little while ago. Let's try to do it on the program. I'm just stating, I'm reminding us that before the election, the idea of silly season came up, and I stated my position, my understanding and my position of it then. And I'm restating it now. That's all I'm doing. It's my opinion. The citizen never says silly. So it doesn't call a reaction to that. That's what I'm saying. Certainly doesn't call for an intense discussion between you and me. So that's why I see it.
Except to say, and I hope this adds some humor, except to say one party may say 27,000 people made a silly decision and the other party might say 37,000 people.
Nah, I don't.
Anyhow,
let's move on then.
I just wanted to reiterate the point that on reconciliation is important, and that on one side things one way and saying that persons it's time for them to go. I'm glad that they're out of the way. And on the other side, we should not be saying that some of the persons who did not vote for us, that they're ungrateful and they were dishonest because they gave us their word and they didn't honor their word. You know, so on both sides. And I think generally as a whole, we still got to find a way how to bring St. Vincent and Grenadines together, and let us find a way to go forward, even though that we may have different views as to the way forward, especially with regard to certain economic and social policies. On the trivia, first, I just want to say that in this upcoming parliament, we see the presence of two daughters of former prime ministers. And the two daughters being Sarah Louise Mitchell and Maya Eustace, daughter is Mitchell, obviously, and Maya Eustace, daughter of Anne Eustace. I certainly just interested, and this follows on the background of that we have had Camilo Gonzalez, the son of Prime Minister, or former Prime Minister.
What is Maya Eustace's position?
Senator in the parliament. I don't know anything.
Has that been confirmed?
Well, I think the statement is, I read it in the paper that she's a senator.
No, I don't. I was told that is, well, anyway, I don't know if it's been confirmed. Let me just put it this way.
Okay. All right, well, great. Well, based on what I have been made to understand, that she is, was declared. So I just make that point. And there may very well be, we don't know yet, but maybe we actually have a Camilo Gonzalez returning, I don't know, as a senator. But I just say for what it is worth, and then I started to reflect on children of former parliamentarians who also entered the House of Assembly. And maybe I might have missed out one or two, but I just made a note of 3 or 4. Glenn Beach, son of Sir Vincent Beach, and he was also not just a senator, but a member and minister. Olin Denny, I think he might be senator and speaker. Son of Alphonse Denny, former representative of North Leeward, and he was a minister of education and so on. Richard Williams, son of Arthur Williams, former MP for West St. George, and he was Attorney General, that's Arthur Williams, and Minister of Communication Works and so forth. And Richard Williams is also senator, and then Camilo Gonzalez, as we mentioned, elected member for East St. George on 2 occasions. And and Minister of Finance and Minister of Foreign Affairs before that, and so on. So I just wanted to mention that. And then something just came to my mind, whether or not, and maybe you can correct me, whether or not any parliamentarian was elected to the House from 2 contested elections in 2 different constituencies other than Sir Vincent.
You said elected to the House?
Yes, elected.
Okay,
Elected, other than Sir Vincent Beach. North Central Windward and South Windward. Like I couldn't think of anyone. I know that Sir James Mitchell had
Tried.
attempted, but
Tried,
he
yes.
tried, but he didn't succeed and so on. So I just think it's a feat that is
Let me
should
ask,
be noted.
did you miss Grenville Williams?
Grenville.
No,
you
well,
say-
I don't have any information one way or
Okay.
the other, so I just
Yeah,
I just leave that for where it is.
But Grenville was
Well, maybe we should just leave that where it
yeah,
is.
he was made Attorney General
Yeah.
as an independent office rather than as
As a, yes, as a
right.
set,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
because the Constitution provides for both.
Right.
But
so
I
so
think,
just let's just leave it there, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, Dr. Cox.
yeah, but I think you might have missed. Didn't Carla Dugan once became a senator?
Not that I'm
Oh,
aware
I
of.
don't know.
Yes, Carla.
Carla?
Yeah,
The daughter of
Carla Duggan?
Carla
Dugan,
Dugan.
yeah.
Yes, she was once a senator as well. So I think you missed that
okay,
one.
All right.
Oh,
Okay. And maybe there might be others too. That
You
it-
guys
it-
sharp on your history,
Yeah,
man.
man, yes.
Polit-
I just wanted to add that there are others who their parents or foreparents might have contested elections in the past and did not succeed. And so one of them, for example, is Dr. Kishore Shallow, whose great grandfather actually contested elections. That's would be Sir James Augustus Providence, but did not succeed, and so forth. And there are others.
Right. Just to add one other thing, which I think is interesting. This is not a son or a daughter, but a nephew. Burns Bonady was the nephew of Milton Cato. And he actually became a senator and the minister of government as well. So
Correct.
just to extend grandfather, you
Well,
went.
let's not
you
go
know.
all the way back,
that's
guys.
fine.
Let me not go all the way back.
Just adding a little history to the thing.
We'll be listing every name in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yeah. That's fine. I think it's important.
Nah,
you
not
know.
today. We don't have the time.
Yeah, okay, good.
Not today.
But the family connection and so on, I think,
Lovely.
is very useful.
But if I may, all of you, I think
Before, can
Yeah.
I? Somebody is reminding us here that Glenn Beach was elected in South. Did
No,
you say
I-
senator?
No, I think I said
He said
elected.
he said that.
I said elected.
Somebody said
He said
it
that.
to
Yeah,
Okay,
elected.
He said that,
Elected.
yes.
fine. All right. So the person's following. So yes.
Yeah.
No, just to say that I think both of you made a very important point, meaning the unity of the country and what comes first. You know, Calypsonian IPA said, put your country before your party, you know? And I think you could correct me, but my understanding of history, my look into history, has proven to me that no state in the history of humankind has developed with constant war. I don't know of a single state like that. You know, just up the road, Haiti is our closest, is our brothers, and so on. And this constant state of, you know, belligerence, if you want to put that word, right, has hindered the development of that society. So I don't know of any society which constantly is at war and can develop. And so therefore, the elections are over. We have to pick up the pieces. We have to understand that what you said, Joel, is critical. What you said is critical, that the country is what matters. You understand? We will always have difference of opinion. Always will have them. That is a fact. Look, Joel has his own brain. You have your own brain. As a matter of fact, that little discussion between you prove that. I'm saying, but we are all here carrying on a common program in a common interest of our country. And so this is what is important, I think. And so I think you couldn't have started better. I agree with you totally.
Okay, thank you. Just to mention, I forgot that someone pointed out that how could I have forgotten Gerald Thompson, Dr. Gerald Thompson?
John is going to kill me.
Yes, and
John's
John
gonna kill
Thompson.
me. Yes.
And not just because of one being senator, and both elected and both elected to run same North Leeward constituency. And my schoolmate, we have been well such a long time, you know. All right, well, maybe I just wanted to make a comment on what I call the Northern Dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about North Leeward and
North
North Windward. So I just wanted to say something. As I looked at the map, St. Vincent, divided into constituencies and so on. I say, look, actually North Leeward and North Windward, when you combine them, they're actually half in terms of geographic space of all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. and then we have to then think about their value and their contribution and so forth. So I just wanted to make that point. Just quickly, we would perhaps both agree that, we'll all agree here that both North Windward and North Leeward perhaps have not developed at the same pace as the southern half, say, of St. Vincent, and in recent times, even though that the Southern Grenadines in particular, Grenadines as a whole, Southern Grenadines in particular, was used to be referred to as hard areas, but they're no longer hard areas today, and so on. But North Leeward and North Windward has had certain things that we would need to look at, right? But I just wanted to say that most of our population here in St. Vincent and Grenadines have not gone north of the Rabaca Dry River, nor north of the Cumberland River, say perhaps in the last 3 or 4 years. We just simply don't go up north, right? And it's when you think about the formation, for example, of North Windward as the OTR above the over the river, since the last Soufriere eruption, it has been significant. And so, but persons never had a chance to go up there. There may even be persons in Sinod.
Joel, can I ask you a question? An eruption or the recent one?
Recent.
Oh, okay.
Recent. So even, I'm just talking about 2021 or whatever, but yeah, it is recently, right? That even persons from North Central Windward, maybe Georgetown, Connery, and so forth, but have not gone to Ovia or to Sandy Bay. I have spoken with persons in North Leeward who live in Chateaubriand and Trumaca and so on, and couldn't direct me to where Darkview Falls are situated and so on. So we have this kind of thing and so forth. But it is what it is, and they are really beautiful parts of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And especially if you travel, once you pass the Rabaca Bridge, you go up to Orange Hill and Overland, Turama, Magum, London, Sandy Bay, over your fancy and so on. You really believe that it's really a beautiful, beautiful part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Beautiful communities, and then with the recent infrastructural foundation laid, there's much to be proud of there, and much more to be done there as well, particularly in terms of commerce and so forth, in terms of hospitality, and then the general overall quality of life. The people of North Windward must lay out their interests, their goals, and then meet with the policymakers to discuss the fulfillment or the attainment of these goals. And I still invite, and I think I did so on this program maybe about a year or so ago, that invite persons to take a drive to Fancy. And you don't have to wait on National Heroes Day or anything like that. Go with your family, over your salt pond and view the Chateau Park, go up to Bamboo Range and do a number of things in the community and so on. See how you can get yourself with, in your plate, your basha, whatever it is, some madongo and some dukana and so on. Anything made from cassava and arrowroot-based products. And by the way, there's so many things that can be made from cassava and arrowroot. And as I would have mentioned before, on this program, that I was surprised to see in one of our supermarkets in Annesville, that where actually you had cassava products, gluten-free and so forth, products being sold, and came from Seattle, Washington, USA. So these are some of the things, and that we just be mindful of. But I just wanted to make a point about North Leeward in particular, especially given that my origins, both on my mother's side and my father's side, North Leeward. The topography is significantly different to that of North Windward. Once you leave Wallilam, it is all uphill and then downhill and then up and down. And then you have to navigate going down Belial Hill, you have to navigate numerous corners and so forth, down through Garden Yard, Spring Village, and then up into Coalsail again, and then down to Trumaca bottom, up to Badjan Corner into Trumaca. Then it divert uphill further to Rose Hall, you're going down into Rose Bank. And it's, we understand what the situation is there and so forth. And it really is a tight one. I'll just be, and there's much, but yet at the same time, so much can be done in North Leeward. in terms from its touristic point of view and so forth. The trails, the waterfalls, and so forth. There are many things that still left to be done there, and I would say that the pace of development is perhaps a little bit slower in North Leeward than it is elsewhere in most of St. Vincent. I want to say that North Leeward is perhaps the only constituency of the 15 where the candidate has as much influence, or maybe even sometimes more influence, than the political leader of the candidate's party. You just reflect on it, and I'm not talking about today in 2025. I'm going all the way back to 1972, 1974, come all the way up. Generally, maybe it's because of the geography, but generally, and that is why you find that something like North Leeward tends to vote almost differently to how the national sway is and so on. You have found that on many occasions, including Gerald's father, when John Thompson won. St. Vincent Labour Party lost. When St. Vincent Labour Party won, John Thompson won, and so forth. So we had those situations and so on. And so on. We had situations like with Calder Williams and others. So it is what it is. That's something that I have found. And I just wanted to make that point, particularly about two sections of St. Vincent Grenadines that occupy half of the landmass that we have, and so forth, and the peculiarities, and so forth. When you look at I call them garrisoned communities. By that I mean that persons are locked into the community in terms of their views and philosophy, political and so forth, and they vote a particular way. Sometimes if you go to West Kingston or East Kingston, you can't say that this section, like French's, is 90% one party, or Cane Garden is 90% the other party, and so on. It is generally, by and large, running between 45 and 55, 58%, that kind of thing. But in North Leeward in particular, and North Windward as well, you find that Fitz votes one way, and that is going back since the days of PPP and Labour. Rose Hall on the other side votes another way. And then Spring Village, for whatever it is worth, is always cut down the middle, right? Always. It's only in this election that you notice that Spring Village went in one pulse in a particular direction and so forth. Maybe for the first time in a very, very long time. The same thing that can be said with North Windward. You're going to find, we are voting a particular way, and so on. At least 2/3 will vote one party, and then equally in Sandy Bay, 2/3 will vote the other party, and so forth. So that is what I meant with, by and large, in terms of the garrison views and so forth. And while it is not entirely unique to these two constituencies, it is featured prominently in North Leeward and North Windward. And I think I'll just end there for just some observations in terms of the recent election. I just wanted to make that point.
Gentlemen, any additional contribution?
Just to say, if you look at North Leeward in particular, look carefully at the history of elections there. Apart from Alpian Allen, who won 3 times, nobody won 3 times in North Leeward. Look back at the history. It is not a constituency that any party can claim. Look at it carefully. Only Alpian Allen ever won 3 times. Everybody else, the max North Leeward will give you is 2 times. And so that might well be one of the factors why you said that the candidates for North Leeward have that kind of influence, because it's really and truly a kind of swing constituency, if you look at it from that term. That's the first thing. The second thing as regards economic and social development, which is what you spent some time discussing, and that in relation to top of North Leeward. There are several things that I think we need to understand. Firstly, that North Leeward as you know, better than I do, I'm sure, North Leeward has a history of agriculture, not a history of tourism. You understand? And until we shift the economy of St. Vincent significantly to tourism, as we have done now, thanks to many things, as you know, hotels, airport, etc., okay? Agriculture remain the backbone business for us in both constituencies, right? In particular, bananas, right, of recent time. And therefore, what happened there is that those communities remain agricultural communities for a very, very long time. What I think you're pointing at, and which is important, is how do we tie that food basket business to the tourism business in a proper way? I think that's the fundamental question here. I do not believe that we need to fundamentally make North Leeward into a tourism bastion, so to speak. I agree with all the developments that are taking place, putting a hotel down there and so on and so forth. But the food security part, you understand what I'm saying? And that being tied to the new tourism economy, okay, is fantastic. And so therefore, I do believe I don't have any belief. I do think that it is fundamental that two things happen. One, as I said before, we tie it to the modern economy, the tourism economy. But two, we reinforce the agricultural nature of that community in terms of food production and so on. This is just my view on that matter. The second thing I think is that North Windward, and this is in relation to our social development overall. As you know, when you and I were boys, there was no secondary school in North Windward. Now, what I think needs to be done, and you can correct me, you can see it otherwise, but what I think needs to be done is that whatever educational institutions that we intend to further develop in North Windward must, of necessity, play a significant role in making agriculture more commercial, more scientific. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, not moving it away from agriculture, but moving agriculture into the direction which it needs to go in order for us to have the full benefit of that kind of economy. That is what I think.
But in a way, Richard, that has started in North Windward in the presence of the modern arrowroot factory, which was for which funding was provided by India, and under the immediate past government, and in particular the representative. I know that they have gone a long way I think it's basically almost completed in Orange Hill. I think my understanding is certain pieces of equipment are still to arrive. But they've started that process, as you're pointing out, as far as arrowroot production is concerned. So in a way, it's a recognition that what you're saying needs to be done. But I agree with you that a greater emphasis should be placed on that kind of thing. Maybe agri-type industry. And we also need to recognize the attempts that have been made to upgrade the fishing industry in that area. Again, there needs to be a more aggressive approach to dealing with that particular aspect of living in that area of the country.
If I may, Joel, and I don't know,
comrades,
yes, right? I think if we look at it carefully, Joel, and I think you were pointing to that. You didn't say it, but I think you were pointing to it. If you look carefully at North Leeward, okay? North Leeward has the greatest potential in terms of building the economic columns, you understand, in three fundamental ways, probably four, right? In the Grenadines, for example, the Southern Grenadines, the soil is not so good for growing everything. You know that, right? It's good but it has nice beaches and so on and so on. You do tourism business down there, and you do the fishing business down there.
The sun and the weather.
You know, yes.
Basically,
right? Conk and so on and so on. North Leeward has, as regards agriculture, You could grow anything. That's the first. But secondly, as you know, there are good beaches, even right down to Chateaubriand. Okay, so you have that possibility to develop tourism, right? But it also has a sea right there. From Barley down, we have Blackfish going right down. You understand what I'm saying? Again, right? You have that element of economic development. What I'm saying is, in terms of agriculture, it has it all, right? In terms of tourism, it's not just about building a hotel on a beach. You were mentioning people can't even point out to you where the falls are. So you were mentioning the other important things, you understand what I'm saying, that are part and parcel of a tourism product. But outside of that, there's a history there to be told as well, you understand, which is part and parcel of the tourism product, okay? And then we have the fishing, okay? So what I'm saying is that unlike, let's say, Kingston, right? Sharps, all these areas, apart from Green Hill, in Kingston, there's no place to do agriculture. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. You know that. You're from Kingston. You're from Chumokau region.
Dr. Cox,
yes.
I remember people used to raise a lot of animals throughout Kingston. You remember that? And I remember one owner.
Yes, right?
Some people say above Trigger Ridge.
Yeah, right. But all of that now is done. I mean, all above Trigger Ridge is houses. You know this. Again, with the development of the port and so on, fishing as we did it in Kingston is not being done anymore. You know this, okay? But today, as we speak, all of that is possible in North Leeward. And then not directly, but by your discussion, is pointing to the fundamental richness. You mentioned it, Madongo and all sorts of stuff. Somebody from Canada or wherever he comes from doesn't know it. He comes for something new. You understand what I'm saying? Right? You have discussed this. And all of this is part and parcel of what we can make our tourism to be. You understand? And North Leeward has it. North Winwood has it. So what I'm saying is that from an economic standpoint, right, there is the possibility of building these columns: agriculture, okay, fishing, tourism, okay, all of that is there. And North Leeward has it all. It's how do you do it? The question. What is the approach? What is the methodology? What is the policy that is going to allow it, you understand, to take place? But it is there. There's no if and buts about this.
Richard, you could even add a fifth pillar. What exists in North Leeward and North Winwood: sport and culture. We know we always forget sport and culture, and we don't see the value of sport and culture. We know we have some of the top cricketers coming out of North Leeward, Michael Finley, and footballers. And we know of the fireman hoopers and the DJ20, the culture. And we know of the big, what do you call it? Selly and those guys, Selly Patterson.
From Rosal.
From Rosal. So we know that sport and culture could also add to even develop the tourism product, because tourists come here, they want to see what you want, what you have as your cultural expressions, and people come to play sport. There's already a playing field in Cumberland that could be used to attract big teams from all over the world to train and compete against other islands. So that's a pillar we always tend to forget.
I just wanted to support or reinforce what you've just said from the sport and then go to sing to culture. There's a St. Vincent on the 15 team. I think they're told going to Grenada, but I believe it's Dominica they've gone to. And 4 out of the 15 or 14 youngsters who have just gone off. I think it's yesterday they left from North Leeward. And then the other thing I just wanted to add, in terms of our top soca artists, St. Vincent Grenadines, and North Leeward, born Skinny Fabulous,
and Problem
Child, Fireman Hooper, and then you still have persons like Cornelius Poser Williams and so on, DJ20 and so forth. Them.
Joel, but you earlier you spoke about tourism and people from, say, North Central Windward probably never went across the Dry River to go to Fancy and so on, right? I think there's an opportunity for us. There are people from Kingston never went to Union Island. There are people who never went to Beckway.
Yes.
I think that's an opportunity that we are missing, internal tourism, that we could develop affordable tourism plans, maybe bed and breakfasts and so on. And people could take a weekend. I don't think we are a traveling public, not even internally. A lot of Vincentians don't really, maybe what percentage of Vincentians travel outside of St. Vincent? 5% maybe? I'll give it a guess, maybe 10%. But we don't even travel within St. Vincent and the Grenadines to appreciate what we have here and to appreciate the diverse culture. There are people in South Rivers who have a different dialect language than sort of way of speaking than somebody in Layou, you know?
South Rivers, Lowmans,
yes,
Greg's.
yes.
Yeah.
We don't even take advantage of what we have here locally. And I think it's an opportunity for us to, as travel becomes so expensive now, it's an opportunity for us to develop our own local inter-tourism kind of product, you know?
I absolutely support that. And the first time I went to Haiti was probably 6-7 years ago, right? And I pride myself on knowing St. Vincent. But this is the trivia, but I think it's very, very important. It's a trivia, but we were talking economics, and I didn't want to go into great detail, but let us not forget. Probably the best marijuana grown in St. Vincent is in North Leeward. No, this is not a joke.
Yeah.
And you wondering how I know
established.
how much I smoke, right? I wouldn't tell you that. But no, the truth is that some of the best soils for growing marijuana, you understand, is in North Leeward, you know? And if former parliamentarian took me to North Leeward once, I wouldn't call his name. And we went down to an area and he said, Richard, look over there. You see that over there? I said, yeah. He said, what do you think that is? I said, that's the forest. He said, no, that's marijuana. All of that is marijuana. And the quality of marijuana grown there is really good. And as you know, we have exported medical marijuana, for example, to Germany. I don't know if you know this, but we have done so, right?
Yes.
We have done this. And so therefore, economically speaking, don't fool yourself. North Leeward has probably the greatest potential for any one area, you know, in this country. We have to think about it and find the strategies, find the policies, find the methodology as to how we make this thing work. But don't fool yourself. You're absolutely right. North Leeward has this great potential. Last but not least, North Leeward is full of water. You know that. North Leeward is full of water. Has anybody sat down and thought, what do we do with, some bottling from down there as well? You understand what I'm saying? This place is fantastically rich, naturally speaking.
This place means St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but specifically we're talking North Leeward. This is not joke. Look at it. Look at what I'm telling you. These are just facts. It's real. So I just wanted to close on that economic argument from there.
I just want to add that, and I know this pigeon hasn't come in yet, but I just want to add that all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has this abundance of richness. When you talk about the soil, the seas, the waters, whatever it is, just look at what our people have done in terms of how they have lifted their social living, economic and social living, and the quality of the houses, the cars which people drive, the vehicles, I should say, from Fancy to Fitz and down to Campbell. Those are the things that I look at, which tell me the picture of how people are living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and how their living has improved significantly, particularly over the last quarter of a century or so. I've noticed that.
So
yes.
The other thing about St. Vincent mainland is that we don't have a way of connecting North Leeward to North Windward by a road, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge.
We go to Richmond, that's it, cuts off. We go to Fancy, it cuts off. And we have not yet found a way to discover or to uncover what lies within that space in the hinterlands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The amount of flatlands that may be available in there that we could use for housing and maybe agriculture. We are yet to discover or to uncover what lies in those areas. So I hope that somebody will revisit the idea of of a cross-country road of sorts.
I'm smiling because
so that we could really tap into the entire St. Vincent mainland. I don't think we have really gotten the full benefit of what the whole island can offer. Go ahead, sis.
No, I was saying to you, I'm smiling because even just before you said that, somebody sent a WhatsApp to say, is there any chance / value in revisiting a cross-country road option?
That was me. I didn't say it.
No, that wasn't you. That wasn't. I know the pause. I won't call the pause.
I hope it's a great mind like mine.
It's a great mind. I can tell you, it's a great mind.
But Cecil,
Yes.
if you allow, I want to put a
Sure,
proposal
sure,
on the table. And I would like to hear what you, as a former head of business and so on, think about this. My
Meaning
own,
Joel.
yeah, Joel.
Okay.
My own view is not a cross-country road at all. This is not my view. My view is a ferry service, a boat service. You understand? And there are fundamental reasons why I argue this. I could be very, very wrong, but I'm giving you them. One is that I think we would better protect the environment, okay? Because I think that northern end of our country is important to the whole environmental situation in this country. I could be wrong. I studied environmental law. I worked in sustainable development for many years, but the details of that I don't know. That's the first. The second reason, I think it would be exotic. It would be something different. You understand what I'm saying? You're traveling all of the rest of the country in car, and all of a sudden you have to go on a boat. You understand what I'm saying? And I see that in Germany where I live, and I find it fantastic. That's the second reason.
Sorry to cut in your future, but it has been demonstrated recently in the election campaign.
Using a boat.
The number of boats that went from the Grenadines, passing Kingstown,
straight to
and on to Chateaubriand.
Yes.
It has happened.
Right.
I mean, just
So
but that only addresses the transportation shortfalls.
Right.
So what about the possibilities?
I cut.
Right.
I mean,
sorry, I was trying to tap into Richard's train of thought because he talked about transportation.
Okay.
But what about the other opportunities that are still undiscovered, like agriculture?
Well,
okay,
hold on. Outside that, Joel, I think it would force the development of port facilities, on both sides, right? It would force that. It would encourage that. And finally, as I said before, right, it would be significant to tourism in that sense. So I believe, and all of the other things that you say can happen. That doesn't mean that cannot happen. I just don't think that you need to necessarily have a cross-country road. You understand what I'm saying? To do it, I would prefer. Probably it's my over fertile imagination, But economically speaking, I've thought about it many times, many times, and I still come back to I would prefer to have a ferry service, right, which leaves Chateaubriand and end up whatever you want to. I don't know which point you think might be the best point. You understand what I'm saying? And so you make that kind of connection, and you leave the soil in that way untouched, right? You could have different points where you load provision on, take them off, or whatever, different road going into different areas, if you understand what I mean, right? And you can even use that to deliver rubber stuff and whatever else you have, badges and so on and so forth, right? And you could design it the way they have it in Germany, where these, and the way we have it in St. Vincent, where these boats can take cars. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? You know we have our boats that take our cars to the Grenadines and back. This is not anything new to us. But what I'm saying, it takes a little bit of imagination. And that is why I turn to you, Mr. Providence, because I could be very, very wrong about this. But this is my picture of it, my imagination of it, if you understand what I mean. So,
gentlemen, while we're going to open up the line for other persons who listen to make their contribution, but I just want to say, I read an email here. Sorry, WhatsApp. Wasn't saying, good morning, gentlemen. Maybe we need, sorry, this is in response to a point that Joel made earlier. Maybe we need to introduce bus trips. And the person is giving his or her experience. I learned all of St. Vincent from bus trips and the spiritual Baptist journeys through the length and breadth of SVG.
I
You know,
had a
the
bit of
spiritual
that
practice,
experience. I had a bit
they're
of that
noted.
experience as a young man from South Rivers.
Same here.
We used to have bus trips going from South Rivers to Richmond, and we used to go in the river down there and fish and so on, and catch
But,
macaque.
but the spiritual
Privilege.
Baptist has
Yeah.
always been known
Yes.
for
But that's
organizing
other
trips,
stuff, yeah.
inter-village, inter-community trips.
Yeah.
And I have been on some of them myself.
But in those days, the bus trips were done because we didn't have the level of transportation
Well, that is true.
system that everybody has a car now, and if somebody wants to go to Richmond from Georgetown to Richmond on a Monday, they go. They don't have to wait on a Sunday for a bus trip. You know, that's
But essentially, the point the post is making is in response to a point that Joel raised about knowing the country.
yes.
I think that's the point the person was raising. And it's an important point.
If I may just quickly respond to what Richard said a short while ago. First of all, it's Dominica and St. Lucia have two ports where personally you can actually have a boat service from the north, Cabritz, down to Roseau, and Scott said in the south, in Dominica and the west. In St. Lucia, they also have boat service from Vieux-Fort, maybe stopping in Soufrière, in Soufrière, and then up to Castries and beyond, going all the way up to
That's on the Atlantic coast.
That's on the Caribbean coast.
Right. So it's a campsite.
The campsite, yes. Both of them is on the campsite. And so on. So that is the challenge. I heard that on election day, that the now Prime Minister, then leader of the opposition, took a boat on election day afternoon from Ovia and came around. And I was, the thought of the trip, I was just wondering what it was like, because
that channel up there is
going up
pretty
from
rough,
Fancy and so on. So I really don't know. But certainly on the western side, there are possibilities. That is what we used to do before. I know of like the late John Horn. His father was the captain of a boat that used to take me from Leeward down to Kingston. Many persons from North came down to town. So we can look at that. But I just also wanted to indicate, though, that in terms of the cross-country road, that we zeroed in on one particular option. But just recently, a leader actually mentioned that there is a possibility, some other options where you can actually cross from the windward coast through to the leeward side. And it becomes very important as we deal with tourism persons coming from the airport and elsewhere, and so on. So I just believe and agree and support the idea that we should revisit the question of the cross-country, but look at the options, taking into consideration what you said a while ago, Richard. It doesn't necessarily have to cut through by Falls of Ballet and go right around on the tip, but there may be some other options that makes it easier for people from Georgetown or from Sandy to get over to Chateaubalay and so on with relative ease.
Did you have any comment from you?
I would really like to change this topic for a while.
Sure. Well, we have the next 10 minutes is up. Is yours.
I just want, I will pose a question rather than make comments. Both parties in the recent elections presented starkly different platforms. And now one party is speaking about continuity. Prior to the elections, there was talk about changing direction in almost every respect. Have we seen any evidence of continuity? And if so, what are the areas we expect to see continuity in?
Well, I would like to start by saying we have to respect the fact that the mandate that the ruling party now has is a massive mandate. Elected 14-1 is a massive mandate. They can do practically anything with that in Parliament. So, and the fact that they're now talking, the leaders of the NDP are now talking continuity, as you said, I think is a brave recognition of reality. If they're talking and do more than talk, you have to do continuation as well. I mean, that's more important than talking about it. It's a massive, awakening basically of the reality.
I think the question Pigeon really wants to ask based on the allocation of ministries, have we seen any different ministries that say that the new party, the NDP, is going in a particular direction that is any different to what we've had before? Have we seen any new ministries that lead us in that direction?
Well,
And that to me would determine whether there's continuity or whether we have a different direction from where we were before.
but I don't know if Pigeon is that what you meant.
In a sense, yes,
Yeah.
but partly.
Part of the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because for sure I've seen added CBI to the.
But that's on the immigration. So that is just a
No,
program.
that's not under immigration.
it's-
That is under the prime minister's.
It's really it
Yeah,
says
the last item in if you look at his
responsible
instrument,
for CBI.
the last item in terms of what he's
So that's a change.
that is a change. I don't know if they're going to go, but it's there right now.
Okay.
And we have to remember too that it's a whole set of ministries that have been allocated, including ministries of state, ministers of state in some of the ministries. And so they may not be as exactly as how they were in the previous under the previous administration. But I think all the areas are covered. As far as I was
I
able
mean,
to.
covered from the previous administration. is a
They're all
continuity.
covered under
Yeah.
different.
Different
but-
configuration.
Yeah,
Okay.
different configuration. But
Yeah,
they're
but
there.
I still want to know if is there a new ministry that says something totally different than what was there before?
The only aspect that I see in terms of ministry responsibilities
Is the CBI.
ecclesiastical affairs.
Mhm.
That is not included. I haven't seen that way.
I mean, that's
But outside,
that could be
no.
easy
But the point
add-on.
is that you're saying, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, of all the
So-
different ministries, they have been allocated.
So based on the allocation of ministers to ministries, it seems as if there's going to be a continuation of what we had
Yeah, I
before.
think what's the point of Pigeon is saying, and I
Alright,
agree.
good.
You go
the-
first.
I'll come back,
the-
sir.
in terms of
Gentlemen, bear in mind at 12 o'clock, I'm going to open to callers.
in terms of the major projects, and the one that strikes me is the construction of the new hospital at Annisville, and the fact that it is being financed by Taiwan, and given the current government's position on Taiwan, Sinwis and Taiwan relations.
Are you talking about the possibility of a switch to mainland China?
Well, I'm talking about the continuation of the project and whether or not it will continue to be financed by Taiwan,
It's just because you said, given the present government's position on Taiwan,
given their position on Taiwan.
on Taiwan.
And Taiwan, where they
So I
claim
was-
that they will switch allegiance
Right, that's what I was asking.
from mainland China to
From
to
Taiwan to
Taiwan.
mainland China.
from Taiwan to mainland China. I'm wondering if that was just campaign rhetoric. We're going to see a continuation of the project itself and other associated issues.
I think that our current prime minister did speak to that issue in relation to the continuation of the hospital project at Adamsville as we know it. And he did indicate, I thought it was after the election, but it was just before, that he was going to continue with the existing arrangement. That is how I interpreted what he said, that was going to continue. As to whether or not we're going to switch to the People's Republic of China tomorrow or next year or whenever, I don't know. They have not made a definitive statement on that.
May I?
Sure,
give you-
sure.
Well, the question asked by Pijan is a broad question, and there are many fundamental issues to that question. It is a philosophical question, and it's a practical question. Philosophical in the sense that, look, what you're dealing with here is change in policy, change in direction, change in approach, change in methodology. It's a philosophical standpoint, right? Now, you and I know that for any development to take place, you cannot just destroy everything that was there and start over. That's nonsensical. So from the sheer philosophical standpoint, there must be some level of continuation. That is common sense. You understand? To do otherwise is to reverse this country, I don't know how far. That's the first thing. The second thing, Pijan, which I think is important, it is too early to determine that question. The reason for this is that people say one thing, but you have to look at what they do. Action speaks louder than words. So that's the second philosophical element of the question. It's much too early for us to determine that. We only 1 week into a new government or something like this, right? The second thing. The third thing, which is important here to understand, at least in my mind, when we are discussing what change and so on. Yes, we could look at indications. I was waiting for you to mention it. Nobody mentioned it. I will mention it. I see that there's a ministry responsible for the private sector. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, actually.
I don't know if you noticed that. But that's a fundamental thing. It's a very, very fundamental thing. Right?
That one is under the Prime Minister's responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And that's an indication of something. Right? Outside of that, we know that they said that, okay, as regards paying for school fee and whatever, these things are going to happen. Right? What I think is the fundamental question that we need to answer is this. Whether it is continuation, yes or no, what does that continuation mean? In other words, it is obvious to me then they're not going to continue everything. That is for sure. You understand? But there are certain things that you must do. You have to do. Okay? Regardless of whether you like them, yes or no. Now, let's be very concrete, because as I said, his question is philosophical, but it's practical. I would bet any money now that we will not change from Taiwan to mainland China. I'll bet any money on it. I'm a student of science, and therefore I do not make predictions about the future. Any student of science does not do that, because he or she knows that you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
But you're betting that
that is the point. You understand? Because at one point or the other, I think you all would agree with me that practical reality forces one to behave a certain way. You understand what I'm saying? So you go to England now, and whether you like winter coats or not, you're going to dress in a winter coat or you're going to die. So practical reality forces you, you understand, to do certain things. And I am absolutely certain. I have information I cannot release here, but I can tell you in almost 100% certainty that that particular project that you mentioned, it is going to continue, and our foreign policy as regards Taiwan is not going to change. And Cecil, if you listen carefully,
who are listening to our program, they will be happy to hear.
Right?
You say that,
No, but if you listen carefully, Cecil,
Yes.
and
Joel.
Bamba and so on, if you listen carefully, two things happen. One, he has already mentioned. The present leader said we will continue. It might have been just before the elections, but there's something else important. The ambassador of Taiwan here, in a release, said we are not too concerned that St. Vincent will change. She must have gotten that from somewhere. It was in the press. You remember that, Bumba? You don't remember? She said it.
It's in the paper, yeah.
Yes, she said it. And this is the ambassador speaking, you know. This is the ambassador speaking.
Yeah, but what does that
So,
mean?
this is why I said to you that I am certain, but I have other information that makes me certain.
Alright.
But Richard, how does that align?
Gentlemen, the time has come for us to
So
switch
yes.
to hear from our persons who are listening, contribute to the program. So let me advise you who wish to do so. The number to call is 457-9997. That's a direct line, or you can call us via WhatsApp as well. In the meantime, gentlemen,
I just wanted to ask Richard though, but how does that align with the people who voted for change from Taiwan to China? And you're going to say to them, no, hold on, thoughts about that. I'm not going to change again.
Well, this is why I said that the question is both philosophical and practical.
Yes.
Because the reality is that politics is a science of governance. That's what it is. And when you step inside there, you have to govern, but you have to govern under a reality. Isn't that true?
True.
You have to govern under a reality. So just to finish my answer to him, to Pijan, in relation to this question, these things are clear to me, Pijan. One, that there's going to be certain continuity, and not necessarily because the present administration wants that, but because there's a public appetite for those continuation. That's the fact.
I have to cut you because respond to the callers. We have one now. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Cecil.
Yes, Lansford, it's good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Just pardon me a little bit. Richard, remember the last thing, your last points, you could come back with.
Yes, yes.
Sorry, drop out for a little while.
No. You go ahead.
Oh no, okay. I want to say a couple of things quickly and leave room for as many callers as possible. One, with respect to the issue of unity and supporting the government. I am of the view that the government elected should be supported and be given an opportunity to run the country. But I also feel that when you have a matter that calls for settlement in terms of the law and interpreting the law, I believe to as soon as possible settle that matter. And I hope that in case anyone or any group take actions to settle a particular outstanding constitutional matter, that those persons should not be ridiculed and treated as sowing disunity. That's one. Two, with respect to the future development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I am of the view that North Leeward has enough space, geographical space. I think it's Israel who made the observation of the significant portion of the country that is North Leeward and North Windward. I think North Leeward and North Leeward and North Windward also have the land space, have the various assets to lead the way with integrated economic development. North Leeward has the facilities, natural and other, to provide for tourism activities while continuing with the production of agricultural products and developing these produce in the form of creating industry. And I believe hand in hand that this area that we refer to North Leeward provides the best opportunity for that to be done. One of the things that we had years ago, as in every other
Yeah, I think Lansford, can you hear
and
me?
in the form of our
Yeah, Lansford, we missed some
That's
gaps
all.
in your presentation. I don't know if it's possible for you to just shift a little bit. The internet seems to be giving us a problem. But you'd have to repeat what you said over the last 1 minute or so.
it's agrarian societies, economies, if you
Now,
to
Lansford,
continue producing
Lansford, can you hear me?
agricultural products.
Lansford, can you hear me?
Yes.
We missed.
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Right. So we missed what you said over the last 2 minutes. So you'd have to remain in your present position and repeat what you said because we're hearing you now.
Okay. I was making the point, Cecil, has the potential to show the way to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, how we move with our development through an integrated process.
Okay.
I am speaking about the assets, the environment, and everything that is in North Leeward to provide for a vibrant tourism industry. Continue the agriculture
Oh, we just
But,
missed him completely.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe when he calls back, we'll advise him to wherever he was when he was correcting. That was the right position. But he may have shifted his location a bit. In the meantime, we have another call here. So we're going to take this one. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And you?
Yeah, not bad at all, please, sir.
Okay. Good to have you on.
Yes, please. I think, well, let me just step away. Something that I haven't heard you all discuss is the decision by the High Court to squash the appointment of the two young ladies
Okay.
at the Parliament.
We didn't come to
it's
that
very
yet, but
important
go ahead.
issue.
You raise it. We didn't come to that yet, but
Yes. Okay. So, for discussion.
oh, you have a position on it? But
have
first of all,
understanding.
can you remind our listeners you in a position to do that?
From my understanding of it, that the clerk, and I don't know if it's the clerk.
The clerk and the deputy clerk. The stories
Right.
in the newspaper actually. That
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
Was appointed, and according to the High Court, it was illegal. So I think it's a very important issue that we overlooked, and I think we should have a little discussion on it.
Well, as I said,
Thank you very much.
well, thanks for calling and no attention to it. But the point is, as I was saying to you, we haven't this morning yet. All right,
I can make a comment.
Yes,
Peter, go ahead.
our discussion to date has been about the election and its fallout.
Yes.
That in just like that would
We do
appear as if
just-
it's
yeah.
part of the election issue.
But
When
it isn't.
It is not.
It isn't. And in fact, I want to suggest that we deal with that subsequent to today's discussion. So we focus. We keep focus on what you do. Yeah.
Yes, no, I was saying that there, in relation to what Pigeon said, and whether there's continuation and so on, there's going to be continuation because of objective reality. Realities that we must face. One of these include the appetite of the public for certain things, for certain goods and certain services, and a government cannot ignore totally the wishes of its population. That's the first thing, right? Secondly, some of the things that were done has put St. Vincent on a trajectory which is important. So, for example, what is happening in tourism? What are you going to say? You're going to then denounce the contract that you signed with Sandals to have a new beaches? I don't think so.
Or Marriott.
Yeah, or Marriott or whatever. I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Thirdly, I think, Joel, again, I turn to you because, as I say, you were involved in these kind of business. The trajectory we have now is to increase the role of tourism, right? And it has proven to be successful so far. Not just in terms of infrastructural development, but in terms of the amount of tourists and stayover tourists which are coming to this country. These are just facts, The statistics back them up. This is not Richard making an opinion. These are facts. What are you going to do? Stop that? How does that make sense? Please,
Richard, can
please
I ask
explain
you
it to me.
again to hold your point
Yes.
and remember where you are? Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. and good afternoon, everybody. Tourism the way to go. I right now talking about putting things in place to benefit from the trajectory in tourism, because you must remember, it's the former leader of the NDP who tell we after they done with the experience by the land on the coast, put infrastructure for tourism development, and I agree. But we must blend tourism with education, sport, culture, agriculture, and fisheries. Because the aim and mission is to set up constant capital in our country. Long as you got tourism going proper, and Vincent can decide to get serious, to fish, and decide to the agriculture serious and the art people them decide to develop the art because we, from my experience I have, running up and down about, then sense and respect, just go oversee and say the musician, you are respected. But you have no, you do it no respect, yeah. I know the reason why, you know. Because we don't know no structure that a man could do in tongue like and when you go in the night, you see a boy just in a hotel paying. I see me another thing. So we now on the trajectory and we need support. Right? And give me a little support now. The jam economy will be launching in the market square, in the market circle, the neighborhood of December, and from there on, constant motion. We bring in back 9 morning upstairs. We bring the lab upstairs. So, Mr. Ryan, the trajectory is tourism. We are one board with 2 win. The people decide the board not fly the win. The red board will be back, the red wing will be balance. And Saturday pick me is a cultural activist. And help them put down the infrastructure, and we just want to continue and forget about the Yankee, the English man that don't have no money.
All right.
The Arab and them.
All right, Kwame.
No Arab white man go for Arab money for invest, you know. Let me go meet them.
All right, Kwame. Thanks. Thanks for calling. All right. Thanks for calling. Thanks. You too.
You get a message?
Yes, very well. Thank you very much. Hi, Lansford. You there again?
Hi, Cecil. I don't know if you're hearing me.
We're hearing you loud and clear this time.
I'm hearing you now.
Very distinctly.
I'm
So I hope
you
we continue on this line. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes. Gentlemen, good morning. Everybody on the discussion here, good morning, and all of your listeners. Well, good afternoon, and all of your listeners. I was Cecil, that North Leeward has the potential to provide tourism services at the same time that they pursue agriculture enterprises and lead the way for St. Vincent and the Grenadines in provided an integrated. And I believe that's how St. Vincent has to go. Generally, we have to use the modern technology to develop all of our sectors and industries and have them integrated, one providing input for the other in terms of the various sectors. I want to go to the issue of the environment and as it relates to the transportation sector. And I agree completely with Dr. Baron Cox, with respect for the role of our environment in our planning process. I agree that a good transportation activities can be established to utilize our sea, utilize our coast. It will call for the erection of landing facilities in certain key areas. For example, in Barley, Layou, maybe Camden Park, and you can have shorter runs with respect to the land transportation that complements the sea transportation. With respect to the eastern coast of St. Vincent, the Atlantic coast, I am not informed to make a decision with respect to the sea and the state of the waters on that side of the island. But I believe the technology in terms of the sailing, the shipping, may allow for reasonable sized boats to operate around St. Vincent, taking into consideration the rough side of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When you travel from Kingston to Port Elizabeth, there's an important part of that journey that you are basically traveling through the currents that come down from that eastern coast of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I understand that if you're doing it from the very north down to the south, it's a longer distance you're traveling in those rough waters. But I believe that it can be done. And I believe that should be done with the intention of leaving our hinterland, our uninterrupted central mountain range. Leave that intact. You see, we speak about all the time about climate change and what it is doing to these islands. I often make the point that it is our biodiversity that we have to use to help to shield us from the ravages of climate change. We have to put in, try to grow back mangrove across, where it is possible along the shore and things like that. But with respect to our central mountain range, there are resources in there that are untouched, and we should protect them with all our lives. That's where a number of our environmentally sensitive, some of the plants and animals that are unique to St. Vincent, you will find them nowhere else in the wild other than in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we must make every attempt to protect them. That's where we get our water from, and we can't take that for granted. One of the panelists there made reference to the water supply that exists in North Leeward. And that water is coming directly from our central mountain range. And we must make every effort to protect it. I believe, as we have seen in the past, where you open up lands, or lands, the public owned lands, the crown lands, so to speak, and the government owned lands are the public take advantage of them and indiscriminately. And I think once you open up that central mountain range for that kind of activity, it will have serious impact on St. Vincent and the Grenadines with respect to our water supply, our natural environment, our biodiversity. And I agree with Richard Cox, Baron Cox, in that way, that we must do all that it takes to protect that natural environment that makes us what we are as St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Very often, because we don't go, we have not visited some of these areas. We do not know what exists there, and we do not pay attention to the serious threats that exploiting them can pose to St. Vincent. I heard the outgoing Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves speaking about building homes in Fenton. And I personally think that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not at the point in our development, educationally, historically, historic knowledge, to put houses in Fenton. Fenton is the beginning of the central mountain range. And as I said before, many persons may not know. They know of the land that is there, and it is close to where we have development on the coastal area. But that's a very sensitive area. And there's a lot that must be done in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with respect to environment that we must put in place before we go into those areas and start doing development. We must take from those who went that road before us. If we take Singapore, for example, you see Singapore developing housing in some of these sensitive areas. But the people there are very aware of what it takes to live in those areas and embrace those areas. And the buildings are constructed in a way to be consistent with what exists there. And I believe that we ought to embark on a process of education with respect to the importance of our biodiversity. We see what is taking place at the botanical gardens on an annual basis. I don't know, lighting complements what the botanical gardens was created for and what it is. And we hear state officials continue to brag about the amount of lights they're putting there. Lighting do not go, especially with that amount of lighting that they're talking about, and is not consistent with our botanical gardens.
All right, so that's what, if you don't mind, can we come back to that at another point? I understand, I know your passion for that, and I share to a large extent, but can we?
Yes, but I'm saying all of that with respect to the issue of continuity that you guys have been speaking about.
Yes.
And where we go forward. I believe that it is not too long before we see the government demonstrating in a tangible way where they are going with respect to continuity and the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the budget that has to be presented and passed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines within the next 60 days or so, maybe a little less than that. And the budget is where resources are voted on and side, and that will point the way in respect of where the government is going, whether or not they're going to continue in the short term with where we are and where we were going, or whether there will be radical change.
Can I ask you to clarify or to say more about the first point that you raised? Wasn't too clear. You mentioned about some constitutional issue. Did you have in mind the objection
we
brought?
All know.
Go ahead.
We all know that since 2020, during and after the 2020 elections, there was heightened discussion on who is qualified to sit as parliamentary representatives and senator in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We all have our various opinion on that, whether persons who swear allegiance to a foreign power, some persons discuss what is a foreign power and so forth. We all have that as a very important issue to decide on. And the way you decide on issues like that is to have the courts rule on it. And I believe and I hope that if there are persons in St. Vincent and the Grenadines or groups who take action to pursue that matter, that it is not frowned upon as those persons are being bitten, they want to take actions against the democratic process.
Okay.
The ruling of the court is all part of the democratic process in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I think that's an outstanding matter that must be settled by having the courts rule on it. And I really support anyone or any group that take actions to ensure that the courts will rule on that matter. I disagree with the ruling of the courts, but I have always accepted it.
All right. Well, thanks for that clarification, and thanks for your overall input to the program this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cecil. Thank you for allowing me.
Sure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Cecil?
Yes, just we have another call, and just make a note, please. We're going to come back to you. Greetings. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Yes, just we have another call.
Hello. Good day, gentlemen.
Yes. Good
afternoon. Cuddy Williams. And greetings to everyone on the panel.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few thoughts. I know time is limited, so I'll be pretty quick.
Thanks, I appreciate
first
that.
one. Yeah. Is consideration being given to expand this radio program beyond 1 day per week?
Interesting.
No, 1 day is not enough.
The most I can tell you now is that we would we note your encouragement and your, but we would have to discuss it with the ownership of the radio station.
Of course, just food for thought.
Okay.
Okay. So a few random thoughts on our political situation and the elections and everything else. Again, I try to be as very quick as possible. Okay. I'd like to express my complete support and appreciation to who I call ex-PM Ralph Gonsalves and his achievements over the years. In my opinion, and I'm sure many others too, no one, period, has worked harder or achieved as much locally, regionally, or internationally on behalf of our country. Honestly, like someone had mentioned before, I am still in deep shock to understand how the Vincentian public could have responded and repaid Ralph Gonsalves for his contribution to this country over the years. Now, it doesn't even make sense for me to go through the long laundry list of things that he has
Maybe
done.
on another a future occasion, but not this morning.
Yeah. That's a whole lot.
Yes.
I mean, considering the housing he has done for people over here, stuff like that. I wouldn't even go into that today. Okay, but in future, I believe that the ULP needs to identify and promote the candidates much sooner than they have done in the past. This to me is very serious matter. In fact, I been discussing this since 2010, before 2010 elections, saying that we're too late in recognizing our candidates and having them on the ground, campaigning sooner. We do it way too late. The other thing too, I think we need to start campaigning much sooner than we do. For example, take the first year off. Any administration, take your first year off. But from year 2, you need to be on the ground at least one day per week campaigning, serious campaigning.
Aris, you might want to write a letter and drop that note of recommendation with some of the folks in the ULP. But I don't know if we don't have that much time this morning to go into all of that on the program. But I appreciate what you I appreciate very much the points that you're making.
So from year 2, 3, 4 onwards, then you get more serious with the campaign, much more frequency. Okay. All right. So I just hung up a list.
But don't discard your list,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other point you want to raise in the meantime?
No, I'll leave it there for the time being. I know there's lots of people want to call it.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling us and for sharing your views. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Yeah, I haven't forgotten you, Richard. It's just that
don't worry.
this is the time when we give some,
I understand.
preference to the callers. But there's no call now, so
yes. I was answering Pigeon, but I divert a little because I want to say two things in relation to Mr. Weeks's call. A brilliant call, and I did not want to go into details because I'm trained in this field, as you know. Development is an area I worked in for many years at the international level. So I want to deal with two things. I want to deal with his second thing first, and then the environment. The issue of this whole challenge and so on. And he asking that people don't see this as,
But I just want to say, you've been trained as a lawyer as
yes,
well.
right. So I'm coming to, this is why I just want to establish one broad principle for us all to understand. St. Vincent is a rule of law state. Let me repeat that so you understand. St. Vincent is a rule of law state. Everything in this country must be done in accordance with the law. You understand? That's the fundamental principle here. And if anyone is elected not in accordance with the law, the person is not elected. It's just a simple basic principle. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand what I've just explained. This is a rule of law state. The state, the ultimate authority in this country is the law. And when we have a question as to how that law should be interpreted.
And Dr. Cox, you don't mind if I say, you said the law, you don't mind if I say the Constitution?
Well, the Constitution is the backbone of all laws.
The supreme.
It is the Bible of all laws. You understand?
I just wanted you to say it.
Yes,
as much as,
it is the Bible of our laws. You understand? And that is why when you think a law is in one way or the other infringing upon the Constitution, okay, you take it to the court, and the court then rule whether the law is constitutional or not. Okay? Now, just to close on that little matter, let us understand very, very clearly here. It is not the right of Cecil Ryan or Bamba Providence or Fitz Huggins or Pigeon to interpret the law. The state did not give you that right. You know who has that right? The court. And so anytime you or I question anything as regards the law, the right place to take it is where? The court. I just wanted to make that clear. So what I'm saying are two things. One, I fully agree with Mr. Weeks. You understand? Fully agree with Mr. Weeks. And secondly, we cannot run the state properly if we do not respect our own laws. I rest my case on that. Now, the second issue, before I hope I will get a chance to still answer Pigeon but the second issue is this. Mr. Weeks laid it out brilliantly as regards the environment. That was my concern, Fitz, when I answered you.
Yeah.
Let me make one thing clear. I hear people talk about climate change all the time. Climate change is caused because certain gases, okay? Carbon dioxide, methane, and so on, escape into the sky. The best storage, according to science, not Richard Byron Cox, science, the best storage of carbon are two things, forests and good soils. You understand? Therefore, I do not know how in heaven's name you're going to fix climate change if you destroy your forests and if you destroy your soils. I don't know how you're going to fix it. You understand? What we have in the world today, in particular, and I don't want to get technical, that is why I didn't go into those details, right? Is that people are trying to provide a political solution to an environmental problem. You understand? People are trying to provide a political solution to an environmental problem. It doesn't work that way. And so what we need to do is to ensure that whatever we do up north or any part of this country, those two things are maintained if we're going to deal with the climate problem. One is that we ensure that our soils are good, and the better the soil, it's the better it sequests. You know, the word sequestration just means storage for others. You know, it's storage of carbon, okay? And green forest. That is where carbon is stored. And so therefore, apart from all the other things Mr. Weeks mentioned, which are also not just environmental, but economical and social and cultural as well. Apart from all of those things, we must think very, very, very carefully. I think it is in Proverbs 19 and 26. It says, where there's no vision, the people what? Perish. We must not just see this thing only from an economic standpoint. Trinidad and Tobago has 3 mountain ranges. The one mountain range right now that supports the whole country is the Northern Mountain Range. If that collapses, Trinidad and Tobago is gone. Please believe me, study these things. I have, as part of my job for many years, studied and understand these things. And so it is very essential that we understand in dealing with this cross-country business, everything, we cannot surrender the environment purely to economics and to dollars. I have said to my students at university, I was a university professor, as you know, I have told them, as far as we know, as far as science has established, this planet is 13.8 billion years old, okay? And it went through a process called evolution. Now in that process, you know what? Evolution has not charged us a single dollar to this day, you know, to create anything. And I'm sure all of you here know, I'm sure Pigeon knows this, that about 33% of all the food produced on this planet is caused by what? Bees and these things that do, what is the process called again? Pollination. Have we paid the bees a single dollar to this day?
Not yet, yeah.
Have we paid? And if they collapse, and you know this, if the bee population of the world collapse, we're in serious trouble. So therefore, this whole issue of the cross-country road must be looked at very carefully.
All right. So we're still taking calls, and I missed about 3 or so. So I'm inviting persons to resume calling would take your calls. In the meantime, I just want to read out one particular WhatsApp. It says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Great program. We have enjoyed a very successful series of disaster recovery exercises, namely the eruption and hurricanes and droughts and floods. I think the ministry being so to the I'll have to come back to that because the call is lighting up. I'll have to come back to finish that. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In 1988, George Bush said, "Read my lips. No new taxes." But in 1990, he broke that promise. To Fitz, you're saying, what about the people who vote on Taiwan, if they stick to Taiwan? I say, what about the people in 2001 who voted for integrity legislation within 100 days? And 9,000 days passed and we didn't have it. The people who voted to bring back sugar for cross-country road.
And your point is? And your point is?
Well, my opening point with George Bush covered what I just said there.
Which is?
Mass camp in 2006. Mass camp was promised in 2006 in Annisvale. Indoor sports facility was promised by Seth McAfee in 2010. Center for Performing Arts was promised 25 years ago. 9,000 days passed. We didn't have them.
So are you excusing in advance?
My point is,
you excusing in advance?
I don't expect all the promises that ULP, that NDP make are going to be fulfilled. Even in your daily life,
excuse
you
the
get
breach
up to
of breach of promises in
advance.
In advance.
Even in your daily life, you get up and you say, "I'm going to do A, B, C, D today." You get up and you go outside. You have a flat tire. You have a dead battery. It changes your whole plans of what you might gonna do for that day. So what's happening? I know the ULP people gonna hold the NDP, and some of the NDP will hold the NDP to what they promise. But a lot of us are convenient. We don't remember these stuff that I just mentioned. These projects that ULP have delivered. One more thing, Mr. Ryan, I think you have to take some of the blame for ULP losing.
Can't do his foolishness anymore. What am I?
He's still on.
No, he's off. I disrupted the call. I mean, I could understand him going on and on, but how is he blaming me? What have I done? I'm not even a member of the ULP. And this program is not linked to the ULP, and people better get it in their heads. This is a program produced at WEFM, which is a private station owned by the Williams brothers. And my voice, if it comes across, I have an opinion like anyone else, and I try to moderate the program. Having the call on the program. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
It's so funny how people double up quickly. I remember he was making sure that.
Let's move on, Coach Joe. But let's move on.
No. Sometimes you have to make sure they understand that other people is listening, and people who heard them talk about other things before. Because I mean, anyhow, let me move on. All
That's what I'm suggesting to you.
To the new government, wishing my PM, my former PM, all the best. And congratulations to Mr. Fitz for his achievement in New York. He should have got it in Canada too, but New York ain't too far, so that's good. All right, man.
All right. Thanks for calling.
I just had to call because of that, guys.
Just to say to you, my brother, that I received several awards in Canada for
I know.
Already,
I'm just pulling your legs.
And I was very
I'm just
grateful
pulling your
for the
legs.
acknowledgement.
All right,
I'm just pulling your
Kojo.
legs with this one.
I know, man.
Thanks for calling and have a good day. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Mr. Cecil Ryan. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Richard Byron Cox. Good afternoon, Bamba. Good afternoon, Pigeon. Good afternoon, Fitz.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Aidisha.
Cecil,
Yes.
I've been trying to call you, my friend, so that I can gloat. Although being a gloat is not a very good thing, but I was calling to her. 14-1 is the score.
Sorry? That I know. I was
14-1
listening.
is the
I was
score.
listening to the
All right,
returns.
so this is Aidisha.
Yeah, but why would you
Pleasant
call
good morning.
to inform me about
And
that
I
when
was
that's
listening
public
to some of the
knowledge?
discussion. That was me gloating. I don't gloat. Gone on, right? Cecil, weren't you interested in any way to find out the reason why the gentleman was blaming you?
No. That's not an issue
for-
for the program, especially today. I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
I don't listen to comments. Comments, you know. If you didn't know that, I don't. I
not
don't.
comments,
I
it's
try
somebody
not
sharing a
to
view.
indulge in comments. I don't. I always try that in my personal life and even
Cecil,
on radio.
how can it be comments if somebody tell you something to your face?
I don't deal with those things, those comments kind of things. I'm sorry. And I'm very serious
Okay.
about it.
I hear
don't
you.
do that. I try not to indulge
again,
all my life. That has been the nature of
all
my
right,
life.
but I personally would want to know why somebody was blaming me for this.
Well, call him and ask him.
They're saying it to my face.
Please call him and
listen
ask
out,
him. Please.
Hear what they're saying. See if it has
Call
any
him and
merit
ask him.
whatsoever, and disregard it.
No,
If it has
please.
none. But
please.
nevertheless, I'm not you.
Call
And I
him
respect your
and
decision
ask
of
him.
choosing how you want to run the program.
Precisely.
But also, when you said clearly it has not been a ULP program, it's not anything to do with the ULP, you must also respect that persons would have seen the program's bias.
But Aidisha, you were on this
Yes,
program.
please?
Now, listen to me, please. You were on this program. I
Mhm.
facilitated you on the program against management's own approval. I facilitated you not long ago. When you did, ITIL Fest.
I think
For
you
over,
facilitate
let me
because I
finish,
think I'm your
please.
friend.
Let me finish, please.
I'm not hearing you.
I facilitate you for the entire
I
program,
didn't hear your
really,
thoughts, Cecil.
against management approval. And you now saying that was included as part of the bias. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not hearing you. You're cutting out. I'm not hearing you at all.
That's strange.
I didn't hear what you said.
All right,
No,
well,
I'm
let's
telling
leave it
you,
at
I
that.
didn't hear what you said. Your voice went down low.
Okay, fine.
And
I
then I hear
appreciate it. Let's leave it at
management,
that. Let's leave it
and
at
it went
that.
down low again.
Make your other points, please. Make your additional points.
I've never been disrespectful to the program, so I don't see why management would think that I should not be on the program.
I didn't tell you management said
I've
that.
never been
I
derogative
did
to
not
anybody
tell
on the
you. I
program.
did
I've
not
never
say
been
that
saying anybody in
management.
the
You need to
program.
listen more carefully. I never said that
No, but I'm saying
management
I
said
only
that.
heard management and it broke out.
And you
I'm not hearing you
only
clearly.
heard that, and you proceeded to respond to make the point that you said about management. You only heard
said
that, and you
management
responded.
would advise.
Let's not go back and forth, please. Not today. We have
All right,
other
all right.
issues to talk about.
I was just calling to say good morning. I'm listening to the program. Many years ago, I'm listening to Richard now, and I'm hearing some of his very positive contribution as related to the cross-country road. I was always thinking, even to the fact that I was a tour guide for many years, and sometimes doing the tours, persons would want to do like around the island tour, and it would have much been easier for having the cross-country road. But based on the fact that he was suggesting that damage our environment, damage the interior, bees, etc., it makes good logical sense. But I'm wondering if there's any way, if it's not a cross-country road, if it's overpass, like what do you call it? What they use in those developed countries.
You mean a cable car?
One of those things that
You mean a cable car?
Right, like something like that, because I know that we're missing that connection between the island from the north to the other side of the north. Because if you want to, move around, it takes a much longer time to drive from Fancy to come right around to the other side of the island. If you want to do like an island tour. As well for connectivity of the North, something like that would have been still something I would like to see before I decease, before I leave this world. So I'm thinking that we could always use science and technology.
I was about to
Sorry,
say that you
Cecil?
make it sound imminent, but go ahead.
No, not eminent. I mean, I think I have a few more years, but you never know, right? But I'm saying I just would like to see that connectivity for the interior of the island from the north to the other side of the north of the island. So if we could use our great minds and thoughts with something, I think it would help our local connectivity and the tourism part. All right?
All right. I disagree with your mom for me, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, I was asked about this.
All right.
And thank you for allowing me on the program. I will call, and I will call any program. I will try not to be disrespectful. And if I'm cut off, well, so be it. For a while I wasn't calling. And you welcome me to call again.
The program,
I'm calling.
we have limited time remaining, and those
All right, then.
those
So have a wonderful evening. Let
mentioned
me run
is
off
not
the program.
necessary.
Let me run off the program.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for calling.
Is there another call?
Not yet.
I don't.
I was reading an email. I want to. Sorry, a WhatsApp. I want to just finish reading.
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
Yeah. Were you responding to something she said?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I want to sort of allay some of her fears, and I know Richard have a discussion on this going back in the car. And Richard's position on the cross-country road is just one position. And he comes from a perspective of an environmentalist. He's studied environmental law. But in the science of building roads and everything like that, there's also something called mitigation. You study the topography and you look at the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. And that's also the science. So maybe from Richard's perspective, yes, this environment is one issue that may be on the threat. But I would rule out the possibility of building a cross-country road once the proper studies are done and all the mitigation measures are put in place. So, I know, right, Richard, that's fair enough.
Well, I did not oppose it, as you saw. My argument is, and I know of mitigation, all of that, because all of that is part of what I studied. I did not oppose it. What I'm simply saying is one thing. Let us have a comprehensive understanding as far as possible as to what this means. And I would say this to you now, and you probably would not share my view on this, but if all the studies show that this is going to be ultimately detrimental down the road, we should not do it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I didn't want Aisha to go away with the impression that Richard is saying we shouldn't do it.
No,
because when she said, let us do she felt that there's a good reason for having a cross-country road until she heard Richard's presentation about the environment. Then it sort of make her change her mind. But I just wanted her to be aware that it still can be studied and the best options could be pursued.
Right.
Bearing with mitigation and all of that, to be considered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cecil, give me 30 seconds, please, because this is important.
Yeah.
As a child, I went to the Spring Village River and I saw where people to catch crayfish, they would poison the water. And that was the first I saw this. That was the first time it struck me that they are catching crayfish now, but they're poisoning all the crayfish, including the young ones. You understand what I'm saying? So they feed themselves today, not realizing that that's the end of the whole thing down the road. My point is, vision is necessary. That's all I'm saying.
All right, let me just try and finish reading this WhatsApp. Good morning, gentlemen. It was sent earlier, by the way. Good morning, gentlemen. Great program. We have a very successful series of disaster recovery exercises, namely the eruption and hurricanes and the droughts and floods. I think that ministry being to the Prime Minister was largely responsible for that success. What are your views on the move of that ministry away from the powerful Prime Minister's portfolio?
I didn't fully understand the question.
Well, basically what the person saying in the former government, has done a lot of things insofar as the disaster recovery is concerned.
Pretty much Nemo was under the Prime Minister's ministry.
But the person's asking, well, not Nemo, well, disaster shifted from the Prime Minister, and he wants comments on that, given its historical importance.
Yes, well, as far as I'm concerned, and I could be wrong on this, but my argument is this. If the policies are in place, if the infrastructure is in place, okay, if the methodologies have been worked out and so on, it doesn't matter if you give it to Bomba or to Richard, once we are willing to carry it out. You understand what I'm saying? Once you're willing to realize it. It has nothing to do with the person once all of these things are in place and we, whoever the person is, P. John, is willing to carry it out. That's the first thing I have to say about that. The second thing I have to say about that, I understand what the person is saying, is that the former Prime Minister understood the significance of this, not only from a standpoint of dealing with disasters, but from a standpoint of development. In other words, how you recover, how much you spend on recovery, and so on and so forth. So I understand the argument the person is making in that the Prime Minister at the time had the foresight to understand the significance not only of recovery, but of further development. But again, I still hold to the view that if all of this is in place and the officer, the minister you give it to is willing to carry it out, then it doesn't really matter. That's my view.
I just want to, Richard, as being a person who you've been working with the UN for a long time, yes, and your diplomacy is one of your fortes. Being the previous government had a very strong relationship with Cuba, Venezuela, CELAC, ALBA, etc., etc. What is your view with the new government in terms of continuation? We were talking about continuation.
And this is why P. John's question is so fundamental. And as I said, there are two sides to it, philosophy and the practical side. You understand? Let us deal with the answer to that question. Firstly, philosophically speaking, ideologically speaking, we have two very different political parties here. Let us appreciate that. Whether we want it or not, you can argue with me until you blue. Those are the facts. You understand? So that's the first thing. And by the way, let me just add a practical thing that all of you would be interested in. There is a friend of mine in Grenada who is anti-Ralph to the core. To the core. When the elections was announced, this woman calls me and said, Richard, I'm praying that Ralph would win. I am praying that Ralph would win. I said, Jesus, what happened? I say, you hate Ralph like poison. She said, what is going to happen in Venezuela is only two persons might be able to bring the attention of the international community to this zone of peace and so save us. It's Mia Motley and Ralph Gonzalez. If Ralph loses, you understand? CARICOM is in trouble. And I said to her, I've always known you as a brilliant woman, but I didn't know that you were practical. You understand what I'm saying? So let's get back to what I'm saying. So as regards foreign policy, philosophically speaking, the NDP is fundamentally different from the ULP. That's a fact. And out of that philosophy would then be born what? The practice. Isn't that so? Out of the philosophy would be born the practice. And therefore we can understand, we can already sort of, I don't like to assume, but we can already see that there's going to be fundamental change in our relations with those particular people, particular countries that you have mentioned. But there are two other things I think which are important. I must understand that. In 25 years, I have checked it because I worked in foreign affairs and I'm a diplomat by training and by practice. In 25 years, there has not been 5 major speeches on foreign policy by the NDP. Go and check it yourself.
May I remind you that Dr. Friday did say about the philosophy of their party, the center right.
Yes.
He did say that.
Right, he did say that. And with that comes a lot of things. But he did not mention specifically what their foreign policy is. But I'm putting it to you, and look it up. In the last 25 years, there has not been a single major speech on foreign policy by the NDP. Not a single one. That's the first thing you have to understand. The second thing that we have to appreciate as regards this relation with foreign policy, please, let us be real. Let's be practical. Ralph had stated very clearly what is the guiding philosophy of the foreign policy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know what he said it was? Friends of all, we strive for a better world. Those are the exact words. Part of it was borrowed from a man named Errol Barrow, right? Who said, friends of all, satellites of none. Errol Barrow said that in 1966. And so part of it was borrowed from Errol Barrow. Okay? But we know clearly what the philosophy was. But we saw the realization of that philosophy in many things. But I'll give you just one example. One example. Only one. I could give you two, but I'll give you one. Let me show you. You know, we ran for a seat on the Security Council. Of the 193 countries, 185 voted for us. Many of them don't share our religion. They don't share our politics. They don't share our philosophy. You understand what I'm saying? But they saw us as what? A friend. Let me give you one other example. When we built the international airport, do you know that we brought communists, capitalists, Islamists, everybody together? Do you know that we did that? Yes, we did that in building the airport. And that showed you that the philosophy as preached by the Prime Minister, that we are friends of all, we strive for a better world, actually worked. I wish we had time for me to go into answer, Pigeon,
I was going
you
to
know,
tell you that we'd have to come back because these days I try to end the program on time.
Yes.
It's around 1. But I just wanted to add to what you just said, that again, repeatedly, I've heard the former Prime Minister, Dr. Huggins, state that insofar as his approach and the approach of the government to governance is based on social democracy.
Yes.
I've heard it on many times, which is basically what you've expounded. All right, so gentlemen, any final? Not any. It's just to advise you to make a final wrap up, because Pijan, you want to go first?
Yeah, it's difficult to analyze 24 years in 24 minutes.
24. Yeah, you're right. So,
and there are so many questions come to mind about the new administration. The only one I want to leave hanging is, should Shallow resign as president of West Indies Cricket? And given that he has quite an important portfolio, that of tourism, can he manage? Should he do the right thing? And I'm including myself in saying the right thing. In resigning, so that's to make it more feasible for him to conduct his business as tourism minister.
Gentlemen, rounding up comments.
Yes,
I know Pigeon has put a late,
yes.
a late wrench.
Just three things very quickly. Firstly, Pigeon, when I got to university, I realized that what I really wanted, what I really loved, was philosophy. And one of the great philosophical sages, the Greeks, he said this: you cannot have a wife and be a philosopher, because you cannot serve two masters at the same time. That is why I'm not married. Okay, that's the answer. No. Right. Secondly,
they need to be mistress.
Another issue. Anyway, second thing I wanted to say is that as Fitz know, and as Cecil know, the intention was not for me to come here to discuss anything of this nature. My latest book is out. It's called Living in Wisdom, an examination of human nature. And I wanted to come here and discuss this book, but the hard copies haven't arrived yet in St. Vincent. I did share the digital copy, which I asked you all not to share with anyone. And but Cecil and I had said that before. Cecil said it's best that he and you and Pigeon, because I'd really love to hear what you have to say about this book, have a read. It's a very simple book. It's a philosophical treatise, the first ever written by any Vincentian, and of a very different nature. However, just to tell you a little bit, and which is what is important here as regards our country, the first quote in the book says this: birth happened to you, death will happen to you. Life is the moment, the time between these 2 points. What will you do? Drift or sail? Think of it. What will you do? Drift or sail? So, what will happen to our country? Will we drift or will we sail? It's a very, very serious question. And finally, I want to thank you all so much for having me. I want to thank Fitz and Cecil, because the two of you arranged this. I do hope you shall invite me back to discuss my book, because I think it's a fundamental piece of literature. Well, everything I write, people always say, and your brother Eggy actually did read it and have a comment. His name is in my book, because everybody who reads my book, your comment is put in the book. So Eggy's, and good morning to you, Eggy, if you're listening. All right. What's his first name again? I forgot.
Egbert or Bert.
Right, Bert. Good morning to you, Bert. So I just want to thank all of you for having me, and it was a wonderful pleasure being here. And thanks to your audience for listening to me.
I just want to say in response to your point you made about being on the program to talk about the book. Yes, unfortunately, we couldn't do that today for the reasons you explained. But some point in time later on, we would certainly be willing to have you, accommodate you, and discuss the book.
And just to say, I hope to launch the book, an official launch, which I usually do sometime in December. But I still have to know when the books will arrive.
Right. So maybe around that time, we might find it convenient to have you on the program to do that. All right. So
I just felt that the program went so quickly this morning.
I know. That's why Harris is making the argument for additional time.
I can't believe Kieran is in studio waiting to throw us out, right?
Not really.
But I wanted us to get to a point where we discuss the VAT-free, whether it's a VAT-free day, shopping day, or day. Because I think we could use this program to educate the public as to how to take advantage of that concession.
Well, we still have next week.
So I hope next week we could invite the public to listen and probably take some advice as to what they should be on that day to save. Because the idea of a VAT-free day is to save money, to keep money in your pocket. So I know the list of produce that the ordinary man will buy is already either VAT exempt or zero rated food stuff. And I know the Christmas period would be full of goodies like television sets and microwaves and those kind of electronic and electrical stuff, bicycles. So if it's a VAT-free shopping day, we need to be very specific as to if there are any limitations on what people would want to buy to save that 16% on the VAT. It's a discount to 16%. I'm planning to buy a television set and a microwave, but I want to know if the VAT exemption would be
it sounds like you have taken on the responsibility to get into the mechanics and the details of that. And come next week. Hold on. That you're coming next week to lead the discussion.
I would want to be buying rice and flour.
No, I hear you. But leave that for next week. Leave all of that for next week. So you have the responsibility to check it out completely and come back next week to lead the discussion.
And allow me to one last point.
Yes.
And this is going to be a little bit of contention.
But
I will keep trying to. This election, the result 14-1 says one thing, that it was a total acceptance of the Dr. Friday and his party. And I can't see no reason why, except for the constitutional motion, that someone will tell me Dr. Friday will not be offering himself in 2030 as a leader. Once again.
Let's come back to that next week. No, that's too much for now.
No.
That's too much for now.
Okay, let's go back next week. Because I was going somewhere with this.
Okay, finish the journey next week.
All right.
I'm sure.
But I just want to thank the listeners for staying with us, and I hope you enjoy the program.
That's enough of a teaser. Well, you have given two things.
Two teasers.
As teasers for next week.
All right.
So we call the public coming back engage you. And if you come, you better come strong next week.
Joel, look at me that kind of mischievous way.
And Joel, it's over to you. Joel, it's over to you. In terms of your closing remarks.
Let us come together in order to continue the journey forward as Vincentians.
Very well said.
That's a profound statement, boy.
Just to say that my book is available on Amazon. So people from all over the world, just tune into Amazon. As I said, it's called Living in Wisdom, an Examination of Human Nature.
All right. I just want to say it's been a great program. As I joined with Fitz saying it has been too short a time, and Harris also said that. But we have to make the best of the time that we have. And so we invite you again next week to share with us again, come with us. And let's continue our own journey here on Is Your Turn on WEFM, the leading program on Sundays, especially, and the leading radio station in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that is WEFM. So thanks again. My name is Cecil. Good afternoon.
Life is one big road, lots of signs. So when you're riding through the ruts, don't you complicate your mind. Flee from hate, mischief and jealousy. Don't bury your thought, put your vision to reality. Yeah. All together now, wake up and live. Wake up and live. Wake up and wake up and live. Yeah. Wake up and live. Rise, ye mighty people. Yeah. There's work to be done, so let's do it a little by a little. Rise from your sleepless slumber.